In the last video, we ran into some big issues around applying Memoize. So in this video, we're going to figure out a way to work around all this stuff. I'm going to first begin by deleting this little kind of refactor we did right here, and then I'm going to uncomment our original code. Okay, so here's what we really need to do. We need to define a function outside of our action creator that's going to actually make the request and then dispatch our action. And we're going to memoize it outside of the action creator, so that it only gets memoized exactly one time, and it's not going to be re-memoized every time that we call our action creator a fetch user. So underneath my action creator, I'm going to declare a new variable called underscore fetch user. I'm putting in the underscore right here to indicate that this is a private function, so to speak, and that other engineers should not attempt to call this function unless they really know what they are doing. So I'm going to say underscore fetch user. And then we're going to set up an arrow function here. And this arrow function right here is going to be what actually makes our request and then dispatches an action. So I'm going to cut the request and the dispatch and put them in the new function right here. And then I'm going to make sure that I memoize this thing by wrapping it with a memoize call. So opening parenthesis on memoize, closing parenthesis over here. Now we can make sure that we call the memoized version of fetch user inside of our action creator, like so. All right, now this almost works. There's just one little issue. Our fetch user function underscore needs to get the ID that we want to fetch, and it also needs a reference to the dispatch function. So we need to somehow get these arguments right here into fetch user. So all we should have to do here is make sure that we call ID, or fetch user with the given ID, and we'll pass in dispatch as well. So now our memoize function right here will receive the ID and dispatch as arguments. Okay, so that should be it. I think that we should be able to test this thing. Now, one last quick thing that I just noticed, I apologize. We no longer have the await keyword on this inner function right here, so we can remove the async. And we actually need to move that async to the arrow function down here like so, because the function down here is the one that actually contains await now. Okay, so this should be good. So let's save this. Now we'll flip back over. We can refresh the page, and now we'll see that we only attempt to fetch each user exactly one time, because we have now correctly memoized the fetch user or underscore fetch users function. So this thing can only be called exactly one time. And we only memoize it one time as well, as opposed to memoizing or redeclaring the function and memoizing it every time that we call our action creator. Now there's one last little refactor that you could do inside of here, totally optional. If you do this refactor, things start to look really crazy, but nonetheless, it is optional. So if we wanted to, we could remove this curly brace right here. We could remove the curly brace and semicolon right there, and then we could new line that entire expression. And so we would end up with something that looks like this right here. So now we've got a function that returns a function that calls underscore fetch user with the ID and dispatch. So like I said, this is a solution that involves just changing a couple lines of code, but it has some really crazy syntax. Like when you look at this thing right here in the future, you're probably going to have to really think about it for a little bit and try to understand what's going on. So I don't know if this is the best solution. I would just say that this is a solution. Now, the one side effect to this solution that I want to mention is that if you ever want to refetch a user for some reason, like if you have made a change to a user, or if you know that the user data has been updated on your API and you want to refetch it, unfortunately, you would not be able to do it again using this action creator. With this solution, you can only fetch each user exactly one time inside of your application. And so if you wanted to be able to refetch a user, you would have to essentially declare another action creator that has the same logic, but just does not apply that memoization step. So like I said, maybe not the best solution, but it is a solution that fixes our problem. All right, let's take a pause right here. In the next video, I'm going to show you a second solution to this problem that's a little bit more universal, I suppose, or it's going to work out in more cases a little bit better because we are not having to do this memoization step. However, it's going to involve changing a lot more code than what we had to do for this right here. So let's take a quick pause and we'll take a look at that solution in the next video.